Some nights feel wider than others. Not louder, not brighter, just wider, as if the space around you has gently stepped back, leaving more room for your thoughts to drift. You're lying still now. Your body already knows how to rest. It has been practicing this motion for years. There's no need to listen for anything in particular. No ticking clock demanding attention, no sound you have to follow. And yet, something is always there, a quiet presence beneath the silence. It isn't a sound the ear can catch. It isn't a vibration you feel through the floor. It's closer to a memory the Earth never forgets. Scientists suggest our planet carries a constant electromagnetic whisper, a soft, persistent signal generated deep inside its core, where molten iron moves slowly, endlessly, like a planetary heartbeat. You don't notice it, and that's okay. Most of the things keeping you alive prefer not to interrupt. Far above you, long before sleep ever reaches your eyes, 3 small spacecraft move through the dark. They are part of NASA's swarm mission, not searching for images, not scanning for messages, just listening. They trace invisible lines around the planet, sensing tiny changes in Earth's magnetic field, changes so gentle they would feel meaningless if you didn't know what they protect. That magnetic field wraps around the Earth like a patient guardian, not rigid, not perfect. Flexible, responsive, alive. It bends incoming solar particles away from the atmosphere. It shields oceans from being slowly stripped into space. It allows air to stay where air belongs, inside your lungs. You breathe in, the air feels ordinary, cool, familiar. But the air only remains because gravity holds it close, and magnetism keeps the sun at a respectful distance. Without that invisible field, research shows Earth's atmosphere would thin over time, molecule by molecule carried away by the solar wind. No explosion, no warning, just quiet loss. Mars once had rivers. Scientists suggest it may have had lakes that reflected sunlight, the way water does on Earth today. But Mars lost its global magnetic field billions of years ago. And when that shield faded, the solar wind began to peel its atmosphere away. Not all at once, slowly, patiently. The planet grew quieter, colder, drier. Earth did not. Because deep inside this planet, liquid iron continues to move. It flows around a solid inner core driven by heat left over from formation and radioactive decay. This motion generates a magnetic field that stretches far into space, forming what scientists call the magnetosphere. On the side facing the sun, it compresses under pressure. On the night side, it stretches into a long, tapering tail that reaches beyond the moon's orbit. It's not a wall. It's a conversation. Energy arrives. Energy responds. Energy flows around rather than through. Sometimes particles slip along magnetic field lines toward the poles. When they collide with the upper atmosphere, they release light. Auroras. Soft curtains of green and red drifting across polar skies, reminding you that even protection can be beautiful. You may never see them in person, but you've seen the images. They look unreal, as if the planet itself is breathing color. Those lights are not a sign of danger. They're a sign of balance, of energy being guided instead of resisted. As you lie here, the Earth continues its slow rotation beneath you. You move through space at over 1,000 miles per hour, even though everything feels still. The sun moves too, carrying the entire solar system along a gentle spiral around the center of the Milky Way. Nothing is truly stationary, and yet stability emerges. Not because things stop moving, but because motion finds patterns. Some believe that the universe favors these patterns not through intention, but through repetition. Simple forces applied over long periods begin to organize themselves. You've seen this before. Sand forming ripples underwater, clouds aligning into bands, flocks of birds turning as one without a leader. Self-organization. No command, no plan. Just rules followed patiently. Gravity, electromagnetism, time. The Earth's magnetic field is one of those quiet patterns. It shifts, it drifts, it even reverses over geological timescales. North becomes south, south becomes north. And life adapts. These reversals don't happen overnight. They unfold slowly over thousands of years, giving ecosystems time to adjust. The planet doesn't panic, it recalibrates. You do something similar every night. Your breathing slows. Your muscles release tension without being asked. Your brain changes rhythm, moving away from alertness toward restoration. No instructions required, just familiarity. You don't need to understand any of this to rest. You don't need to picture satellites or magnetic lines or molten cores. Those systems are already doing their work. quietly, reliably. Before we drift further, let's pause here for just a moment. If you find comfort in these slow journeys through science and silence, you might like to stay a while. You can gently tap the like button or subscribe if you'd like more stories told softly. And if you wish, you can ring the little bell, not for noise, but so the next quiet night can find you again. Now, let's drift, because this story doesn't begin with mystery or fear. It begins with protection, with balance, with the unnoticed systems that allow you to lie here, breathing, thinking, letting go. And as the night deepens, the earth continues its low, steady hum, holding you, turning beneath you, listening even when you don't. The earth keeps turning beneath you, slowly, faithfully. You don't feel the motion. Almost nothing that truly matters announces itself. The planet rotates once every 24 hours, carrying oceans, mountains, cities, and sleeping bodies through space, as if they were weightless thoughts. And as it turns, something subtle continues to unfold. Not loudly, not suddenly. Patterns begin to form. They don't appear all at once. They reveal themselves only when you stop trying to look directly at them. Scientists suggest this is how order often emerges in nature, not through design, not through intention, but through repetition. Simple forces applied again and again begin to organize themselves. Gravity pulls, energy moves, matter responds. Over time, relationships appear. The magnetic field surrounding the Earth is one of these quiet relationships. It is not fixed, it drifts. The magnetic north you imagine is not anchored to the pole. It wanders slowly, migrating across the Arctic year after year. Maps must be updated, compasses quietly adjust, and still the planet remains stable. Because stability does not require stillness. It requires balance. High above you, the swarm satellites sense these gentle shifts. They feel slight changes in direction, subtle gradients in strength. Variations so small they would seem meaningless without patience. When scientists visualize this data, they don't see chaos. They see structure, curving lines that loop from one hemisphere to the other, arcs that stretch into space before returning home, patterns that look less like machinery and more like flowing water. These magnetic field lines are not objects you could touch. They are descriptions, ways of understanding invisible order. And order, it turns out, is everywhere. Charged particles arriving from the sun do not move randomly when they reach Earth. They spiral, they follow paths, they are guided. That guidance is why auroras gather near the poles instead of scattering across the sky. Where magnetic lines converge, energy concentrates. Where energy concentrates, light appears. Soft curtains of green, faint reds, occasional hints of violet. They don't flash, they drift, as if the planet itself is breathing color. You don't need to imagine standing beneath those skies. It's enough to know they exist, quiet evidence of invisible geometry at work. Geometry is often taught as shapes and angles on paper. But in physics, geometry describes relationships. How motion curves, how forces redirect one another, how space itself shapes the paths things take. Orbits are geometry, fields are geometry. Even time scientists suggest has shape. Nothing moves through the universe without responding to something else. Even when an object seems alone, it is still in conversation. With gravity from distant masses, with radiation pressure, with the curvature of space-time. Space is often described as empty, but emptiness is misleading. Space is filled with fields, with influence, with quiet connections that do not need matter to be present. You are part of this network too. The iron atoms in your blood respond to magnetism. The calcium in your bones was forged in ancient stellar interiors. The oxygen you breathe cycles endlessly between air, ocean, and life. Patterns do not stop at the edge of your skin. Your body follows them instinctively. Your brain especially. Neurons communicate through tiny electrical signals, firing in rhythms that shift depending on state. When you are alert, faster waves dominate. When you relax, research shows those rhythms slow. Alpha waves soften. Theta waves emerge. There is no command center issuing instructions. The brain simply follows the same principles seen everywhere else. Self-organization, local interactions repeating until a stable pattern forms. Some connections strengthen, others quiet down. The system settles into a lower energy state. Rest. Outside, the Earth continues its dialogue with the sun. Most days it is calm. A steady stream of charged particles flows outward, brushing against the magnetosphere, pressing gently against its boundaries. The field responds by reshaping itself, compressing slightly on the day side, stretching long and thin on the night side. A magnetic tail forms extending far beyond the moon's orbit. It is not a shield that blocks. It is a structure that redirects. Sometimes the sun releases more energy than usual. Solar flares, coronal mass ejections, clouds of magnetized plasma traveling through space. When they reach Earth, the conversation becomes more animated. The magnetosphere flexes, currents flow, auroras brighten and expand. People who rarely look up may notice the sky behaving differently. But the planet is not in danger. It is doing exactly what it evolved to do. Adapting, responding, balancing. Protection scientists note is not rigidity. It is responsiveness. As you lie here, your body mirrors this behavior. Your breathing slows without instruction. Your heart subtly adjusts its rhythm. Your muscles release tension in layers one group at a time. You did not ask for this. You did not guide it. It happens because conditions allow it to happen. Quiet, safety, time. The most efficient systems operate best when they are not interfered with. There is comfort in realizing that rest is not something you must achieve. It is something you allow. Scientists studying complex systems often arrive at the same conclusion. From weather patterns to ecosystems to galaxies, order arises not from control, but from freedom within constraints. Rules exist, but outcomes are not forced. Movement finds its own balance. Interstellar space follows this principle too. Dust grains align with magnetic fields. Cosmic rays scatter through turbulent regions. Energy diffuses along pathways shaped by invisible structure. Even between stars, nothing is entirely random. Nothing is entirely ordered. Everything lives in the space between. That is where resilience forms, and where rest becomes possible. You may notice your thoughts drifting now, not racing, not stopping, just loosening their grip. This is not something you need to monitor. Your mind knows how to do this. It is practiced every night of your life. The same forces shaping self-organization in the universe shape your inner world. Patterns repeat, rhythms synchronize, energy settles. Different scales, same principles. The earth turns, fields flow, you breathe. Quiet geometry continues to arrange itself around you and within you without urgency, without demand. And as these patterns stabilize, they gently prepare the ground for something else. A subtle deviation, a motion that does not quite follow expectation. Not dramatic, not alarming, just enough to be noticed if you're listening softly enough. You remain where you are, not waiting, not preparing, simply present inside, a moment that does not ask to be shaped. The earth continues its steady movement beneath you, carrying weight and water, air, and silence without asking for acknowledgement. Rotation persists whether it is felt or forgotten. Motion in the universe is rarely rigid. It adjusts, it yields. Scientists observe this not as disruption, but as character. A straight path exists comfortably in mathematics. In nature, paths prefer curves. Gravity reaches across distance with patience, drawing objects into relationships that reveal themselves only when time is allowed to stretch. What appears direct slowly becomes arched. What appears constant begins to soften. These shifts are not mistakes. They are signatures. Every moving object carries a quiet record of the forces it has encountered. Each bend remembers influence. Each hesitation reflects interaction. Even light changes direction when it passes mass. Even emptiness responds. Astronomers learn to notice this through repetition, position measured against position, movement compared with memory. Night after night, small differences accumulate. Too subtle to disturb, too consistent to ignore. The solar system itself is shaped by this kind of negotiation. Planets do not travel in isolation. They exchange influence across vast distances, trading momentum without touch. Orbits stretch into ellipses. Angles drift over centuries. Balance is maintained not by stillness, but by adjustment. Nothing dramatic occurs, yet everything is in motion. Comets reveal this principle clearly. As they warm, ice releases gas unevenly from rough surfaces. Jets form where structure allows escape. The outflow creates a gentle push, barely noticeable in a single moment. Over time, paths alter. Scientists describe these effects as non-gravitational forces, though nothing about them exists outside gravity. They layer atop it. They coexist. Environment shapes motion as much as mass does. You understand this more deeply than you realize. Your own movements carry memory. Muscles remember repetition. Posture reflects habits learned without instruction. The body does not need reminders to adapt. It responds naturally. Memory often resides in motion rather than thought. Breath offers a simple illustration. As air leaves your lungs, there may be a pause before the next inhale, a brief interval where nothing is pushed or pulled. That pause is not absence, it is balance. In astrophysics, balance often appears at boundaries, where one influence gives way to another, where pressure equalizes, where systems reorganize quietly. Earth's magnetic environment contains such regions. Currents shift, fields realign, energy redistributes itself to maintain coherence. These adjustments release no sound. They announce nothing. They simply happen. Scientists studying these environments notice that energy prefers pathways. When conditions change, pathways shift rather than break. Adaptation replaces resistance. The same principle governs your nervous system as rest deepens. Neural activity reorganizes. Some connections relax, others synchronize. Attention loosens its grip on detail. Rhythm becomes more prominent than content. Thoughts thin without effort. This is not loss. It is redistribution. Mental energy moves towards simplicity. In this state, perception becomes sensitive without becoming alert. Small variations feel noticeable, not because they are threatening, but because awareness is no longer crowded. Astronomers experience something similar during long observations. Extended stillness sharpens perception. Irregularities become visible only after familiarity has settled in. Discovery rarely begins with certainty. It begins with noticing what does not perfectly conform. A deviation too gentle to alarm, too persistent to dismiss. Such deviations do not demand explanation immediately. They invite patience. Over time, patience reveals structure. In celestial mechanics, small irregularities often indicate unseen influence, a distant mass, a diffuse field, a background interaction shaping motion across distance. The universe communicates through nuance. Nothing here insists on urgency. As you rest, your sense of scale begins to soften. Distance stretches, time loses edges. This is natural. Precision fades, continuity remains. Long stories live in continuity. Stories that unfold across millions of years, across light years of space, across interactions too quiet to dramatize. You are not required to follow every thread. You are allowed to rest inside the rhythm itself. The Earth maintains its motion. Fields continue their flow. Objects move, sometimes precisely as expected, sometimes with slight variation. Variation does not threaten order. It sustains it. Balance lives in responsiveness. Your breathing reflects this truth. Your body adjusts without command. Your awareness settles without instruction. Nothing needs to be resolved. Nothing needs to be named. Motion continues. Adjustment persists. Patterns remain flexible. And within this flexibility, the night holds you without expectation. Quiet, unhurried, complete. You rest inside a calm that does not ask to be defined. Distance feels different here. Not measured, not urgent. In physics, distance is never empty. It carries influence. Gravity crosses space without touch. Light travels without substance. Fields extend without form. You live inside these exchanges every moment. Your weight presses the ground because Earth reaches for you across a small distance. The moon pulls at oceans across a much larger one. The sun holds the solar system together across millions of miles. None of this requires contact. Scientists describe gravity as a curvature of space-time, a way mass tells space how to bend, and space tells mass how to move. It is not a force you can point to. It is a relationship. Relationships leave traces. Planetary orbits reflect them. Tides reveal them. Timing shifts record them. When something moves through space, it moves through context. The context responds. Even light, which seems indifferent to obstacles, bends as it passes mass. Galaxies lens the glow of more distant galaxies. Paths curve quietly. Astronomers notice this not by dramatic events, but by patient comparison. Images aligned, positions measured, differences mapped. Influence announces itself through pattern. Magnetic environments behave in similar ways. They extend far beyond the objects that generate them, shaping motion at a distance. Charged particles respond without ever touching the source. Around Earth, the magnetic field reaches into space, guiding particles along invisible pathways. Around the Sun, a much larger field stretches outward, carried by the solar wind. These fields overlap. They interact. They negotiate. Nothing collides. Everything adjusts. Scientists refer to this as coupling. systems influencing one another through shared boundaries that are not rigid lines but regions of gradual change. Energy flows where resistance is lowest, direction changes without impact, influence spreads. You experience this principle in quieter ways. A thought changes your breathing before you notice the breath. A sound alters your posture without asking permission. Light entering your eyes adjusts hormone release, shaping alertness and rest. Your body responds to signals long before you name them. Distance inside the nervous system is small, yet influence travels quickly. Electrical signals move along neurons. Chemical messengers cross synapses. No single signal explains the whole experience. Meaning emerges from coordination. Scientists studying complex systems recognize this pattern across scales. Local interactions produce global behavior. Small influences accumulate into large effects. Weather forms this way. Ecosystems function this way. Galaxies organize this way. No central command, no master instruction, just influence traveling through networks. Interstellar space carries such networks as well. Dust grains align with magnetic fields that span light years. Cosmic rays diffuse through turbulent regions shaped by distant events. Radiation pressure nudges small particles over time. Even the space between stars is structured by interaction. You are not separate from this. Your body is mostly empty space at the atomic level, yet influence binds it together. Electromagnetic forces hold electrons near nuclei. Quantum rules determine stability. Touch itself is a conversation of fields. As you rest, awareness becomes receptive rather than focused. This is when subtle influences feel more apparent. Not stronger, clearer. A distant sound registers without demanding attention. A change in temperature alters comfort. A shift in light affects mood. Nothing insists. Everything suggests. Scientists note that during relaxed states, the brain becomes less reactive to noise and more sensitive to signal. Patterns stand out against quiet backgrounds. This sensitivity does not sharpen edges. It softens them. Perception widens. In astronomy, widening perspective often reveals connections that were invisible up close. The motion of one object hints at the presence of another. A wobble suggests mass unseen. A delay indicates distance traversed. Inference replaces impact. Knowledge grows through patience. You do not need to hold these ideas tightly. They do not require effort. They simply mirror the way rest allows influence to pass through without resistance. The Earth receives energy from the sun every day. It absorbs some, it reflects some, it redistributes the rest through atmosphere and ocean. Balance emerges from flow. Your body does the same. Heat spreads, blood circulates, nutrients move. Influence sustains life more than the force ever could. Scientists often describe healthy systems as those that transmit influence smoothly. Blockage leads to instability. Flow supports resilience. As your breathing evens out, resistance fades. Signals pass without obstruction. This does not make you passive. It makes you responsive. Responsiveness is not weakness. It is adaptability. In nature, adaptability allows systems to persist across change. Stars adjust internal balance as fuel evolves. Planets respond to shifting conditions. Life adapts to environments that never remain fixed. Influence travels. Systems respond. Nothing here requires urgency. Nothing demands resolution. Distance remains. Connection persists. You are held within a web of relationships that do not need to be named to function. Fields overlap. Signals pass. Balance maintains itself quietly. As rest deepens, influence continues its work without interruption. No announcement, no instruction. Just presence. You sense time differently now. Not as minutes, not as hours. More like a slow texture moving through experience. In science, time is not always a ticking sequence. It is a dimension in which processes unfold. Change does not happen all at once. It accumulates. Scientists describe many natural systems, not by events, but by rates. Rates of cooling, rates of diffusion, rates of decay and renewal. What matters is not the moment something happens. It is how gently it continues. The Earth carries countless such processes. Heat flows from the interior toward the surface. Radioactive elements release energy at predictable rhythms. Rock deforms under pressure too slow to notice, yet powerful enough to reshape continents. Nothing rushes, and because nothing rushes, everything remains. Time in nature often behaves like water soaking into ground. No sudden shift, just gradual saturation. You feel this in your own body. Tension releases not in a single breath, but in layers. Muscles soften as circulation redistributes warmth. Awareness drifts as neural activity reorganizes. No signal announces completion. Rest is not an event, it is a process. Scientists studying sleep observe this clearly. The brain does not switch states instantly. It transitions through phases each marked by subtle changes in electrical rhythm and chemical balance. Some networks quiet, others synchronize. Memory consolidates. Maintenance begins. Time stretches. On a planetary scale, similar transitions occur. Day slides into night without an edge. Seasons change through gradual shifts in light angle and temperature. Climate responds to accumulated energy rather than isolated moments. Even the magnetic field evolves this way. Its strength fluctuates, its orientation drifts. Reversals occur over thousands of years, not days. Life adjusts because time allows it to. Adaptation depends on duration. In physics, many equations describe systems moving toward equilibrium. Not a final stillness, a balance point. Energy spreads until gradients soften, differences diminish. Entropy increases. This word often sounds ominous, but entropy is simply the tendency for systems to distribute energy more evenly over time. It is why hot objects cool, why mixtures blend, why motion smooths. Entropy is not disorder, it is relaxation. The universe relaxes continuously. Stars burn fuel, steadily adjusting internal pressure to maintain shape. Galaxies rotate while redistributing mass. Radiation fills space, thinning and cooling as expansion continues. Nothing stops, nothing hurries. Time gives systems room to breathe. You are part of this breathing. Your cells replace themselves on schedules measured in days, months, and years. Your skin renews, your blood refreshes, your bones remodel quietly. You do not oversee this. Time manages it for you. Scientists studying biological rhythms note that nearly every process follows cycles. Circadian rhythms align physiology with light. Hormone levels rise and fall predictably. Temperature shifts subtly across a day. These cycles are not rigid clocks. They are flexible oscillations adjusting to environment while maintaining coherence. Time here is elastic. In astronomy, elastic time appears in surprising ways. Relativity shows that motion and gravity alter time's passage. Clocks tick differently depending on speed and mass. Satellites account for this. Navigation depends on it. Time is not universal. It is contextual. Yet, for all its complexity, time remains gentle. It does not push. It carries. As you rest, the sense of sequence loosens. Thoughts no longer line up in strict order. Images drift without demanding connection. This is not confusion. It is spaciousness. Scientists often note that creativity and insight emerge when linear time softens. Associations form more freely. Patterns surface without effort. The mind mirrors natural processes when it rests. Processes continue beneath awareness. Synaptic connections adjust strength. Metabolic waste clears. Immune surveillance proceeds quietly. Time works on your behalf. Outside, the Earth continues absorbing sunlight and releasing heat. Atmospheric circulation redistributes energy from equator to poles. Oceans store warmth and release it slowly. These delays matter. Without them, climate would swing violently. Time smooths extremes. In the universe, smoothing is survival. Rapid change overwhelms. Gradual change allows response. Stars that exhaust fuel too quickly collapse dramatically. Those that burn steadily endure for billions of years. Longevity favors patience. You do not need to track any of this. Understanding is optional. Experience is enough. Time moves whether it is measured or felt. And in moments like this, when attention rests lightly, time feels less like pressure and more like support. You are not falling behind. Nothing is being missed. Processes continue at their own pace. Your role is simply to remain. Breathing, resting, allowing. The world does not require urgency from you. It functions through continuity, through repetition, through time given space to do its work. As awareness settles, the sense of before and after fades. What remains is process itself. Quiet, ongoing, sufficient. You notice how things endure by changing. Not by resisting, not by holding their shape too tightly. In science, matter is rarely fixed. It adapts. Atoms vibrate. Molecules rearrange. Structures shift under forces too gentle to feel. What appears solid is often in motion at scales beneath awareness. This is how materials survive. Rocks bend slowly under pressure, flowing over geological time like thick liquid. Metals fatigue, then redistribute stress. Ice reforms its crystals as temperature varies. Change is not failure, it is memory in action. Scientists describe materials as systems with histories. Their present behavior reflects what they have experienced. Stress leaves traces, heat alters arrangement, radiation reshapes structure. Nothing forgets entirely. Even in space, matter records its journey. Dust grains carry scars from cosmic rays. Ices trap gases formed under ancient conditions. Minerals preserve magnetic orientations from long-gone fields. These records do not speak. They persist. Astrophysicists read them patiently, inferring past environments from present form. A meteorite arriving on Earth carries isotopic signatures older than the planet itself. Its atoms were forged in stars that no longer exist. Matter remembers, not as narrative, as configuration. Your body does the same. Bones thicken where stress repeats. Skin adapts to exposure. Neural pathways strengthen through use. Experience reshapes structure quietly. No announcement, no instruction. Change accumulates. Scientists studying plasticity describe this as the capacity to respond without breaking. Biological systems rely on it. Cells remodel their internal scaffolding. Proteins fold and refold. Membranes adjust composition to maintain balance. Life persists because matter is flexible. At the cellular level, this flexibility depends on chemistry responding to environment. pH shifts alter binding. Temperature affects motion. Energy availability guides repair. Nothing is static. Even DNA, often imagined as fixed code, is packaged unwrapped and accessed differently depending on context. Expression varies. Structure adjusts. Memory exists not only in sequences, but in how matter is arranged. On larger scales, planets show similar behavior. Crust deforms under tectonic stress. Mantle flows over millions of years. Magnetic minerals lock in orientation as lava cools. Earth's surface carries the imprint of processes long finished. Mountains rise and erode. Basins fill and drain. Fields realign. Change leaves form. In physics, this relationship between change and memory is captured by hysteresis. A system's response depends not only on current conditions, but on its path to reach them. Magnetic materials show this clearly. Their alignment reflects previous fields. Soils retain moisture patterns shaped by past rain. Ecosystems reflect histories of disturbance and recovery. The present contains echoes. You carry echoes too. Posture reflects habit. Movement reflects learning. Rest reflects cumulative fatigue and recovery. None of this requires conscious recall. The body remembers by being shaped. As rest deepens, this shaping continues. Muscle fibers repair microscopic damage. Bone cells adjust density. Synapses alter strength. Maintenance unfolds without supervision. Matter tending to itself. In space, similar maintenance occurs through gradual adjustment. Radiation alters surfaces of airless bodies. Thermal cycling fractures rock. Micrometeorite impacts redistribute material. Planets without atmosphere weather silently. Change proceeds without weather. In laboratory experiments, scientists watch materials adapt under repeated stress. They test fatigue. They observe relaxation. Given time systems find configurations that distribute force more evenly. Stability emerges from accommodation. This principle appears everywhere. In engineering, in biology, in astronomy. Survival favors those systems that change without shattering. You feel this as comfort. When the body no longer resists gravity, when muscles release their hold, when attention softens its grip, support spreads, weight distributes. Matter remembers how to rest. Your bed yields slightly under pressure, redistributing force. Your bones align. Your breath finds space. Nothing locks. Everything settles. Scientists might describe this as minimization of energy. Systems move toward states requiring less effort to maintain. Lower tension, greater efficiency. This movement does not hurry. It unfolds naturally. In the universe, energy landscapes guide matter toward stable configurations. Electrons occupy lower energy orbitals. Atoms bond to reduce potential. Structures assemble where balance exists. Nature prefers ease. Ease does not mean inactivity. It means harmony between forces. As you lie here, harmony increases. Signals quiet, resistance fades. Matter at every scale continues its quiet remembering through change. No message, no direction, just persistence. You sense how effort eases when resistance fades. Not because energy disappears, because it finds a gentler route. In physics, energy does not vanish. It moves. It flows along gradients. It redistributes where barriers soften. Scientists often describe this behavior as least action. Systems evolve along paths that require the smallest overall change. Not the fastest, not the loudest, the quietest. Heat follows this rule. When warmth meets cooler air, it spreads until difference softens. No command is needed. Molecules share motion. Temperature evens out. This sharing is not loss. It is balance. Electricity behaves similarly. Charge moves through materials where opposition is lower. Conductors allow flow. Insulators resist it. When pathways open, current settles into steady patterns. Nothing dramatic occurs. Stability emerges. In fluids, the same principle appears. Water moves downhill not because it wants to, but because gradients exist. Pressure differences guide motion. Viscosity shapes speed. Rivers curve. Streams branch. Flow adjusts. Energy chooses routes that minimize strain. In the atmosphere, winds arise from uneven heating. Air expands where warm, contracts where cool. Movement results. Over time, circulation patterns establish themselves. Trade winds, jet streams, gentle breezes that persist for centuries. No single gust decides their shape. Accumulation does. In the oceans, currents transport heat across the planet. Warm water drifts poleward. Cold water returns. The system stabilizes climate by moving energy where it is needed. Delay matters. Water stores warmth longer than air. Release occurs slowly. Time smooths extremes. You mirror these processes. When your body relaxes, tension redistributes. Blood flow adjusts. Heat spreads evenly. Comfort increases not through force but through accommodation. Energy follows openness. Muscles that release allow circulation to improve. Breathing deepens without effort. The chest expands because space is available. The nervous system operates on similar principles. Neurons fire when thresholds are reached. Signals propagate where pathways are prepared. Learning strengthens certain routes. Disuse quiets others. Over time, efficiency increases. The brain conserves energy by favoring familiar patterns. This conservation supports rest. In physics, dissipation describes how energy spreads into less concentrated forms. Sound fades as vibrations disperse. Light scatters as photons travel. Motion slows as friction distributes energy into heat. Dissipation is not destruction. It is diffusion. The universe diffuses continuously. Stars radiate energy outward. Space absorbs and thins it. Background radiation fills the cosmos evenly. Expansion stretches wavelengths, lowering energy per photon. Cooling occurs. This cooling does not signal decline. It signals transition. From concentrated to distributed, from intense to gentle. Galaxies formed as matter collapsed under gravity, releasing energy. They persist as energy continues to spread outward. Structure remains while gradients exist. As gradients soften, change slows. You feel this slowing. Thoughts that once required effort drift with less insistence. Attention no longer clamps down. Awareness broadens. Scientists studying relaxation note reductions in metabolic demand. Heart rate lowers. Oxygen consumption decreases. Energy use becomes economical. The body chooses quieter paths. Hormones shift balance toward repair. Inflammatory signals decrease. Maintenance gains priority. Energy supports restoration. In ecosystems, similar choices appear. Plants orient leaves to maximize light without overheating. Roots grow toward moisture gradients. Organisms distribute effort efficiently to survive. Waste heat escapes. Nutrients cycle. Energy budgets balance. The same logic governs stars. Fusion proceeds at rates determined by pressure and temperature. If reactions accelerate, expansion reduces density. If they slow, contraction increases it. Feedback stabilizes output. Energy regulates itself. You do not need to guide any of this. Your role is to remain open. Openness lowers resistance. Lower resistance allows flow. Flow supports balance. As you lie here, energy continues to move through you. Chemical reactions proceed. Ions cross membranes. Signals propagate quietly. None of this requires attention. The most efficient systems operate unnoticed. In engineering, designers seek such efficiency. Structures distribute stress evenly. Materials dissipate vibration. Systems last longer when loads are shared. Nature discovered this long before humans named it. Sharing reduces strain. The night encourages sharing. External demands diminish. Internal rhythms take over. Energy spreads evenly across systems. This spreading feels like ease. Ease is not emptiness. It is sufficiency. Nothing presses, nothing pulls sharply. Gradients soften. Motion continues along gentler slopes. You remain supported by processes that favor economy over excess. Energy chooses the quietest path available. And as it does, the sense of effort fades. What remains is continuity. Flow without insistence. Movement without demand. The body settles into patterns that require less work to maintain. Quiet persists. You sense scale without measuring it. Not large, not small. Simply present. In science, scale is not about size alone. It is about perspective. What feels immense from one distance becomes ordinary from another. What feels intimate can extend farther than expected. Atoms are tiny, yet they govern everything you touch. Galaxies are vast, yet they follow rules simple enough to write down. Understanding often begins when scale relaxes its grip. You do not need to stand far away or lean in close. You can remain where you are. Physics moves easily across scale. The same equations describe waves in water and waves in light. The same patterns appear in clouds and spiral galaxies. The same statistics shape gas molecules and crowds of stars. Similarity emerges not from copying, but from constraint. When systems obey shared limits, form repeats. Fractals illustrate this gently. A coastline looks jagged from the air. Closer, the jaggedness repeats. Closer again, it persists. Detail echoes across magnification. Nature does not redesign itself at each scale. It refines. In your body, this refinement appears everywhere. Bronchial passages branch like trees. Blood vessels mirror river networks. Neural connections resemble clustered constellations. Efficiency shapes form. Scientists studying scaling laws notice predictable relationships. Metabolic rate scales with body mass. Heartbeats follow power laws. Lifespans correlate with size across species. These patterns do not dictate destiny. They describe tendency. Tendency provides reassurance. It suggests that behavior remains within bounds. At the planetary level, similar reassurance appears. Earth's atmosphere thins gradually with altitude. Pressure decreases smoothly. Temperature varies in layers. No sudden edges. Space does not begin abruptly. It transitions. The ocean does the same. Light fades with depth. Temperature shifts. Sound travels farther where water carries it best. Gradients replace boundaries. Gradients allow comfort. You experience gradients now. Awareness deepens without dropping away. Sensation softens without disappearing. This is how scale feels when it supports rather than overwhelms. Astronomers confront scale daily. Distances measured in light years. Masses counted in suns. Timescales spanning billions of years. Yet meaning remains accessible. A star's color reveals temperature. A spectrum reveals composition. A curve reveals motion. Complexity resolves into relationship. The human mind is capable of holding this without strain. It does not require constant focus. It requires trust in pattern. Pattern recognition evolved to operate across scale. You recognize faces from afar. You read emotion in small movements. You sense rhythm in repeated sounds. Scale shifts without breaking understanding. The same ability applies to scientific insight. Data points become trends. Trends become models. Models become intuition. Intuition does not oppose science. It emerges from familiarity. As familiarity grows, scale becomes less intimidating. In cosmology, expansion stretches space itself. Distances grow, wavelengths lengthen. Energy density decreases. Cooling follows. Yet structure persists. Clusters form, filaments connect them, voids separate without isolating. The universe arranges itself into a web. Not tight, not fragile. Resilient. Resilience depends on scale. Small disturbances fade. Large structures absorb change. Your body mirrors this. Minor fluctuations in heart rate settle. Small temperature changes correct. Hormone levels oscillate within safe ranges. Homeostasis spans scale. Local variation supports global stability. You do not need to intervene. Regulation proceeds automatically. Scientists describe this as feedback. Negative feedback dampens extremes. Positive feedback amplifies change only when conditions allow. Balance arises from interaction. In geology, mountains rise as plates converge. Erosion lowers them. Over time, elevation stabilizes. In ecology, populations grow and decline. Predation balances abundance. Resources limit expansion. Scale governs outcome. At the microscopic level, thermal motion jostles particles constantly. At the macroscopic level, averages smooth randomness. Noise becomes signal when scale increases. This smoothing is comforting. It means that not every fluctuation matters. Most resolve quietly. As you rest, thoughts behave similarly. Small worries lose coherence. Minor distractions dissolve. Larger themes remain: safety, warmth, presence. The mind filters by scale. What does not persist does not dominate. Scientists analyzing time series see this effect. Short-term noise overlays long-term trend. Smoothing reveals direction without erasing detail. Perspective changes interpretation. You do not need to search for meaning. Meaning remains when scale is right. The earth feels solid because trillions of particles average into firmness. The night feels quiet because countless small sounds blend into hush. Comfort emerges from aggregation. Aggregation stabilizes. As awareness widens, boundaries soften. Inside and outside feel less distinct. Distance loses urgency. Scale no longer presses. You remain held by relationships that persist across magnification. From atoms to cells, from cells to bodies, from bodies to planets. Continuity spans them all. Nothing demands precision. Nothing requires effort. Scale becomes a place you can rest inside. Wide enough to hold you, close enough to feel gentle. And within this balanced perception remains calm. No edge to approach, no size to compare. Just presence across distance. You notice that not knowing no longer feels uncomfortable. It feels spacious. It feels gentle. In science, uncertainty is not an obstacle. It is a condition. Measurements always carry margins. Predictions always include ranges. Knowledge lives inside probability. This does not weaken understanding. It strengthens it. Scientists work with uncertainty every day. A value is reported with confidence intervals. A model is tested against variation. A conclusion is held lightly, ready to adjust. This flexibility allows systems of knowledge to remain stable. Certainty that cannot bend eventually breaks. Nature demonstrates this quietly. Particles do not occupy exact positions. They exist as distributions. Outcomes are described by likelihood rather than guarantee. At the smallest scales, probability is fundamental. Electrons spread into clouds rather than points. Energy levels appear as bands. Events follow statistics. And yet reliability emerges. Devices function. Chemistry proceeds. Structures persist. Trust forms not from precision, but from consistency within uncertainty. On larger scales, weather offers a familiar example. Forecasts describe chance. Percentages replace promises. Rain may arrive or not. Temperature may vary. Still seasons remain recognizable. Climate patterns persist despite daily unpredictability. Order tolerates fluctuation. You are built to live with this. Your body does not demand exact conditions. It operates within ranges. Heart rate varies from breath to breath. Blood pressure adjusts moment by moment. Temperature fluctuates slightly across the day. Health depends on adaptability. Rigid systems fail. Flexible systems endure. The brain reflects this principle. Neural firing is not identical each time. Connections fluctuate. Noise exists. Yet perception remains coherent. Thought arises from collective behavior rather than precise repetition. Scientists studying cognition note that variability supports learning. If every signal were identical, adaptation would stall. Variation allows exploration. Exploration supports resilience. In astronomy, uncertainty guides discovery. An unexpected wobble suggests unseen mass. A slight mismatch points toward new physics. Anomalies invite careful attention. Progress begins when confidence leaves room. You feel this shift now. The need to define every thought relaxes. Questions float without demanding answers. This is not confusion. It is trust. Trust that systems larger than conscious thought continue to function. Your lungs exchange gases without oversight. Your heart maintains circulation. Your immune system monitors quietly. None of this requires certainty. It requires tolerance. In physics, tolerance appears as error bars. In engineering as safety margins. In biology as redundancy. Multiple pathways achieve similar outcomes. If one route falters, another compensates. Life favors backup. Redundancy feels inefficient at first glance, but it provides robustness. 2 kidneys, paired lungs, overlapping neural circuits. The universe uses redundancy as well. Multiple stars form in clusters. Galaxies group together. Cosmic structures repeat across space. Patterns reinforce one another. Stability arises from shared load. As you rest, awareness shifts away from control. There is no need to manage breath, no need to track time. Processes continue. Uncertainty no longer asks for resolution. It settles into acceptance. Scientists describe equilibrium not as a fixed point, but as a region. Systems fluctuate within bounds. They wander without escaping. Equilibrium is dynamic. This dynamism supports longevity. In ecosystems, populations rise and fall around averages. Extremes are tempered by feedback. Balance persists through motion. You mirror this balance. Thoughts arise and pass. Sensations shift. Nothing sticks long enough to dominate. Trust grows when you realize this passing is reliable. You do not need to chase clarity. Clarity appears when conditions allow. In cosmology, early uncertainty gave rise to structure. Tiny fluctuations in density expanded into galaxies and clusters. Small differences amplified into large-scale patterns. The universe did not begin smooth. It began uneven, and from that unevenness complexity emerged. Uncertainty seeded richness. Without it, nothing interesting would exist. This truth extends inward. Moments of ambiguity allow rest. Ambivalence releases pressure. You do not need to decide anything here. The night holds uncertainty kindly. Darkness does not demand explanation. It simply exists. Stars shine through it. Fields permeate it. Your awareness floats within it. Scientists working late nights often describe similar feelings. Data processing hums quietly. Screens glow softly. Certainty waits. Patience leads. Discovery unfolds through calm attention. Not force, not urgency, just presence. As your body settles deeper, signals reduce priority. External inputs fade. Internal rhythms take prominence. Trust replaces vigilance. This is not surrender. It is alignment. Alignment with processes that have sustained you far longer than conscious thought. You have slept thousands of nights before. Each time uncertainty did not harm you. Each time rest restored balance. Memory of safety accumulates. The nervous system learns. Confidence builds. Now not knowing feels safe. Questions loosen their grip. Answers are not required. Understanding rests. And in this rest, trust continues quietly. No conclusion to reach. No certainty to secure. Just allowance. Uncertainty remains. Trust holds it gently. You feel steadiness arrive without effort. Not as a signal, as a condition. In science, healing is rarely a dramatic event. It is a tendency. Systems move toward states that require less correction to maintain, less strain, less compensation. Balance is economical. The body understands this deeply. When a disturbance passes, physiology does not rush to declare completion. It recalibrates. Fluids redistribute. Ions return to gradients. Tissues repair at rates shaped by supply and demand. Homeostasis is not stillness. It is continuous adjustment around a preferred range. Temperature hovers within limits. Blood chemistry remains buffered. pH stabilizes despite constant challenge. Stability comes from feedback. Negative feedback dampens excess. Positive feedback amplifies only when needed, then yields. These loops operate quietly. You do not instruct them, they respond. In physics, similar principles govern many systems. A pendulum slows as friction dissipates energy. An oscillation decays toward rest. A circuit settles as transients fade. After perturbation, systems relax. Relaxation is not collapse. It is return. Materials exhibit this behavior. After stress, elastic substances regain shape. Viscoelastic materials recover gradually. Even brittle systems redistribute micro cracks before failure. Time allows structure to reorganize. In geology, landscapes heal through balance as well. Erosion lowers peaks raised by tectonics. Sediment fills basins carved by water. Over long spans, elevation moderates. Extremes soften. Rivers meander to distribute energy evenly. Floodplains absorb excess flow. Channels adjust cross-section. The system reduces work. In ecosystems, healing follows similar logic. After disturbance, pioneer species establish quickly. Soil chemistry shifts. Nutrient cycles resume. Succession proceeds without a director. Diversity increases, function returns. Balance reemerges not because the past is restored, but because constraints guide the present. Constraints shape possibility. Your nervous system heals this way. After stress, sympathetic activity declines, parasympathetic influence increases. Heart rate variability improves. Breathing synchronizes with circulation. Repair becomes prioritized. Sleep supports this rebalancing. During rest, the brain clears metabolic byproducts. Lymphatic flow increases. Synaptic strength renormalizes. Learning is consolidated. Noise is reduced. The system returns toward efficiency. Efficiency is not minimal activity. It is appropriate activity. In immunology, balance appears as tolerance. The immune system distinguishes self from non-self. Responses are scaled. Overreaction harms. Underreaction risks. Regulation maintains health. Scientists observe that many disorders reflect imbalance rather than invasion. Inflammation persists beyond necessity. Signals amplify unchecked. Feedback fails. Healing often means restoring regulation, reducing excess, supporting full. In chemistry, reactions move toward equilibrium. Reactants convert until chemical potentials equalize. Rates slow. Net change approaches zero. This does not halt motion. Molecules continue exchanging. Equilibrium is dynamic. The universe favors such states. Stars maintain hydrostatic equilibrium by balancing gravity and pressure. If imbalance grows, adjustment follows. Contraction increases temperature. Expansion cools. Output stabilizes. Planets maintain energy balance by radiating what they absorb. Atmospheres redistribute heat. Oceans moderate extremes. Life exists within these balances. As you lie here, balance becomes tangible. Muscles no longer brace. Jaw softens. Eyes rest. Signals reduce urgency. Nothing is demanded. The mind mirrors this shift. Thoughts no longer require resolution. Emotions settle into tone rather than narrative. Awareness widens while intensity fades. This is regulation in action. Scientists studying meditation and relaxation note increased coherence across physiological systems. Heart rhythms synchronize with breathing. Neural oscillations align across regions. Integration improves. Integration supports resilience. Resilient systems absorb shock without breaking. They return toward preferred ranges. In engineering, resilience is designed through redundancy and damping. Shock absorbers convert motion into heat. Structures flex rather than fracture. Energy is redirected. Biology learned this long ago. Flexibility heals. You feel flexibility now, not as movement, as allowance. Allowance for systems to do what they evolved to do. No oversight required. Balance does not announce itself. It feels like absence of strain. In astrophysics, after energetic events, remnants cool and expand. Supernova remnants disperse energy into surrounding space. Shock fronts weaken, temperatures decline. New equilibrium forms. The cycle continues. Energy transforms. Balance follows. Nothing here suggests finality. Balance is maintained moment by moment. As conditions shift, responses adjust. This ongoing calibration is health. Your presence within it is passive. You do not fix. You allow. Allowance lowers resistance. Lower resistance eases correction. Correction restores balance. As this process continues, the sense of effort diminishes further. Awareness rests inside regulation. No signal to follow. No task to complete. The night provides conditions favorable to return. Darkness reduces stimulation. Quiet limits interference. Systems settle. You remain supported by balances older than memory. Chemical, electrical, gravitational. They hold without gripping. Healing proceeds by returning toward what requires the least strain to sustain. Balance remains sufficient. Quiet, ongoing, whole. You notice how repetition no longer feels dull. It feels steady, reassuring. In science, repetition is how structure forms. A single event changes little. Repeated interactions shape systems. Waves carve shorelines, not by force, but by persistence. Breaths sustain life, not by intensity, but by regularity. Signals become rhythms through return. Order grows from recurrence. Atoms vibrate continuously around preferred positions. These vibrations define temperature. They persist without instruction. Molecules collide countless times each second. From this motion, pressure emerges. From balance, stability appears. Nothing coordinates these collisions. Pattern arises anyway. In physics, this is described statistically. Individual behaviors vary. Averages remain. The law of large numbers smooths irregularity. Predictability grows from repetition. This predictability does not constrain freedom. It enables function. The heart beats rhythmically because pacemaker cells fire repeatedly. The rhythm adjusts with demand. Consistency supports adaptability. Too much variation destabilizes. Too little prevents response. Balance lies in repetition with flexibility. Your breathing reflects this. Inhale follows, exhale. Pause appears naturally. The cycle repeats. Each breath differs slightly. The pattern holds. This is coherence. Neural activity shows similar organization. Neurons fire in oscillations. Waves synchronize across regions. Communication improves when timing aligns. Scientists observe that repetition strengthens connectivity. Frequently used pathways become efficient. Rarely used ones quiet down. Learning follows this rule. Practice does not force memory. It allows structure to form. In ecosystems, repetition establishes niches. Daily light cycles guide photosynthesis. Seasonal changes regulate reproduction. Migration follows predictable routes. These cycles repeat across generations. Species adapt not to single years, but to patterns. Stability emerges from familiarity. The planet itself demonstrates repetition. Rotation defines day and night. Orbit defines seasons. Axial tilt shapes climate. These motions repeat with remarkable consistency. Small variations exist. Long-term cycles modulate them. But repetition dominates experience. Life relies on this reliability. In astronomy, repetition allows measurement. Periodic signals reveal planets. Regular pulses identify neutron stars. Repeating transits disclose orbital periods. Order becomes visible through return. Without repetition, signal hides in noise. Repetition lowers uncertainty. You feel this calming effect. As sensations repeat, the nervous system predicts them. Prediction reduces vigilance. Safety increases. Surprise fades. The brain conserves energy when it can anticipate. Familiar patterns require less processing. This efficiency supports Scientists studying habituation note reduced response to repeated non-threatening stimuli. Sounds fade into background. Lights dim subjectively. Awareness relaxes. Repetition teaches the body what can be ignored. Ignored does not mean lost. It means integrated. In chemistry, repeated reactions reach steady state. Reactant concentrations stabilize. Rates equalize. The system continues cycling. Nothing stops, yet nothing escalates. This dynamic steady state characterizes life. Blood circulates continuously. Glucose levels fluctuate within range. Hormones pulse. Repetition underlies regulation. In physics, oscillators maintain rhythm through feedback. Pendulums swing. Springs compress and release. Waves propagate. Damping prevents runaway motion. Energy dissipates gradually. Rhythm persists. The universe itself displays repetition at vast scales. Galaxies rotate. Clusters orbit common centers. Expansion proceeds steadily. Even cosmic background radiation shows uniformity shaped by early repetition. Large-scale order reflects early cycles. As you rest, repetition becomes a gentle anchor. Breathing repeats. Heartbeat repeats. Thoughts repeat less urgently. Repetition reassures the nervous system that nothing unexpected is required. This allows deeper relaxation. You do not need novelty here. Familiarity supports comfort. Scientists note that sleep benefits from consistent routines. Regular schedules align circadian rhythms. Predictable environments ease transition. Repetition prepares the body to rest. But preparation is not effort. It is allowance. Repetition works quietly. No reminders needed. In learning theory, repetition consolidates memory during rest. Reactivation strengthens connections. Pruning refines networks. The brain organizes itself through replay. Dreams may reflect this process. Fragments repeat softly. Associations reorganize. Order forms beneath awareness. Repetition does not trap you. It frees attention. When patterns are reliable, consciousness can release control. You trust that systems will continue. Trust supports rest. In geology, repeated stress builds mountains slowly. Repeated erosion lowers them. The land remembers cycles. Rivers return to channels. Sediments deposit in layers. History writes itself through recurrence. Your body writes history similarly. Posture reflects repeated use. Comfort reflects familiar positions. As you settle, repetition deepens. The same muscles relax again. The same signals quiet. No effort required. Just return. return is not regression. It is stabilization. The universe stabilizes through repetition. Systems that endure repeat what works. You are inside such a system. Breath repeats, heartbeat repeats, night repeats. Order emerges without instruction. Quiet repetition continues. You sense how little is actually required. Not to function, not to continue. Just enough simplicity for everything to work together. In science, complexity rarely appears all at once. It builds from simple rules, repeated patiently. A few interactions applied again and again give rise to astonishing richness. Atoms combine through basic forces. From those bonds, molecules form. From molecules, structures emerge. No master plan directs the process. Order grows from simplicity. Physicists often describe fundamental laws in remarkably concise equations. A handful of constants, a few relationships. From them stars burn, planets form, life organizes. Simplicity does not limit possibility. It enables it. In mathematics, simple iterative rules generate intricate patterns. Fractals arise from repeated application of basic transformations. A single equation iterated produces endless detail. The complexity does not reside in the rule. It resides in repetition. Biology reflects this principle. DNA uses 4 chemical bases. From these, every protein is encoded. From proteins, cells build tissues. Variation emerges from combination rather than invention. The same small alphabet writes countless forms. You carry this elegance within you. Your heartbeat depends on simple electrical pulses. Your breathing follows pressure differences. Your muscles contract through ion exchange. Nothing ornate is required. Life operates through fundamentals applied consistently. In neuroscience, simple neurons create complex thought. Each neuron fires or remains silent. Networks of these binary choices generate perception, memory, emotion. Consciousness does not require complicated units. It arises from interaction. Scientists studying emergent behavior note that systems become unpredictable, not because they are complex at the base, but because interactions multiply. Traffic patterns form from individual drivers following simple rules. Flocks coordinate through local alignment. Markets fluctuate through basic exchange. Emergence explains how simplicity scales. Understanding this reduces strain. You do not need to hold everything in mind. Systems manage themselves. In chemistry, reaction networks settle into stable cycles. Feedback regulates concentrations. Catalysts guide pathways. Once established, these networks persist. They do not need constant oversight. Nature favors processes that sustain themselves. The universe conserves effort. Energy flows along available routes. Structures persist when they reduce work. This economy supports longevity. You feel this economy now. Thoughts simplify. Attention narrows gently. Unnecessary complexity dissolves. Rest does not require analysis. It requires allowance. In astrophysics, star formation begins with simple collapse. Gravity pulls gas inward. Density increases, temperature rises. Fusion ignites when conditions align. No external spark, just threshold reached through accumulation. From that ignition complex, stellar life cycles unfold. Stars synthesize elements, explosions distribute them, planets incorporate them. Complexity grows from a single ignition. But ignition itself is simple. Pressure and heat. In geology, landscapes evolve from simple processes. Water flows downhill. Ice expands when freezing. Rock fractures under stress. Repeated over time, these actions carve valleys, raise peaks, form plains. No sculptor required. The land shapes itself. Your nervous system shapes itself similarly. Repeated experiences strengthen certain pathways. Unused ones weaken. Learning emerges from exposure. No conscious reprogramming needed. The brain economizes. It retains what works. This retention feels like familiarity. Familiarity reduces cognitive load. As complexity simplifies, comfort increases. You do not need novelty to remain engaged. You need coherence. Scientists studying sleep observe reduced complexity in neural signals. Activity becomes more synchronized. Variability narrows. This simplification supports restoration. During deep rest, the brain revisits simple patterns. Basic rhythms dominate. The system resets. Simplicity here is healing. In physics, ground states represent minimal energy configurations. Particles occupy lowest energy levels. Systems prefer these states. They are stable. Transitions require input. Without input, simplicity prevails. The night provides few inputs. Light dims, sound softens. The environment supports simplicity. Your body responds, heart rate lowers, breathing deepens, muscle tone reduces, complex control relaxes. Automatic processes take over. You are not losing awareness. You are shedding unnecessary layers. This shedding is not emptiness. It is focus on essentials. Essentials continue. Breath, circulation, repair, everything else can wait. In cosmology, the large-scale structure of the universe follows simple statistical rules. Density fluctuations obey Gaussian distributions. Correlations decay with distance. Despite immense scale, simplicity governs description. This does not diminish wonder. It deepens it. Knowing that complexity rests inside simplicity allows relaxation. You are not required to manage details. Systems larger than conscious thought carry the load. As rest deepens, the need to understand recedes. Understanding has already done its work. Now simplicity holds. Few rules, repeated gently, sustaining everything. You remain inside this balance. No demand, no excess. Just the quiet sufficiency of systems doing what they are meant to do. You sense connection without reaching for it. Not a link to grasp, a condition that exists. In science, connection does not require contact. It requires relation. Forces act across distance. Signals propagate through fields. Correlations appear where interaction persists. Nothing here strains. Atoms bond because energy lowers when they do. Electrons share space in orbitals shaped by probability. Stability arises from mutual allowance. Chemistry is cooperation written in motion. Molecules assemble through compatibility. Shapes fit, charges balance. No molecule persuades another. They settle where interaction costs less. Life extends this logic. Cells adhere through surface proteins that recognize pattern. Tissues organize through gradients of chemical signal. Organs coordinate by exchanging ions and hormones. Communication sustains coherence, not command. In physiology, coordination replaces control. The heart does not instruct the lungs. They synchronize through shared chemistry. Carbon dioxide rises, breathing responds. Feedback closes the loop. Connection remains quiet. Neurons connect similarly. Synapses transmit signals across gaps smaller than thought. Electrical change becomes chemical exchange. Chemical exchange becomes electrical change again. Meaning emerges from repetition across networks. No single neuron understands the whole. Understanding arises from relation. Scientists studying networks describe this as distributed processing. Information spreads, influence diffuses. Robustness comes from many weak links rather than the few strong ones. Weak links flex. They absorb variation. In ecosystems, this principle appears clearly. Species interact through food webs rather than chains. Energy flows along multiple paths. If one route falters, others compensate. Resilience follows connection. The planet operates through such webs. Atmosphere exchanges heat with ocean. Ocean exchanges carbon with rock. Rock exchanges minerals with life. Cycles interlock. Connection maintains balance. Astronomy reveals similar patterns. Galaxies bind through gravity into clusters. Clusters trace filaments across cosmic scales. Matter arranges into networks shaped by interaction. Nothing exists alone. Isolation is rare and temporary. Even voids participate by defining structure around them. You participate too. Your body exchanges matter continuously with environment. Air moves in and out. Water circulates. Atoms enter and leave without ceremony. Identity persists through pattern, not permanence. This realization eases effort. You do not need to hold yourself together. Processes do that. Connection provides continuity. In physics, conservation laws express connection through time. Energy transforms but remains accounted for. Momentum transfers through interaction. Charge redistributes. Nothing disappears without trace. This continuity supports trust. The nervous system relaxes when continuity is expected. Predictable exchange reduces vigilance. You feel this as comfort. Comfort arises when connection feels reliable. Touch illustrates this gently. Contact activates receptors. Signals travel inward. Awareness registers presence. But even without touch, connection persists. Sound waves reach you through air. Light arrives through space. Temperature communicates through radiation. You remain informed without effort. Scientists note that perception integrates signals automatically. You do not assemble sensation piece by piece. Integration occurs beneath awareness. The brain specializes in connection. Association binds memory to feeling. Context binds perception to meaning. Disconnection requires effort. Connection is default. In social systems, connection stabilizes groups. Information sharing reduces uncertainty. Coordination improves outcomes. Isolation increases noise. The universe demonstrates this across scale. Regions exchanging influence stabilize. Regions cut off diverge. Exchange moderates extremes. You feel moderation now. Thoughts relate softly rather than collide. Emotions blend into tone. Awareness remains cohesive. No part pulls away. This cohesion does not require focus. It persists because conditions support it. Quiet reduces interference. Darkness simplifies input. Connection strengthens when noise falls. Scientists studying coherence observe alignment across systems. Heart rhythms synchronize with breath. Brain waves align across regions. Coherence correlates with ease. Ease supports restoration. In materials, science grains align through annealing. Heat allows atoms to migrate. Defects reduce, structure improves. Connection at boundaries increases. Strength rises without rigidity. Biology mirrors this. Healing tissues reconnect fibers gradually. Scars remodel. Function returns through integration. Connection restores capacity. You allow this now. No effort required. Connection persists whether noticed or not. It carries you. Within and around you, exchanges continue. Energy flows. Matter circulates. Information propagates. Nothing needs instruction. Connection maintains itself. As awareness rests, separation loses relevance. Inside and outside feel coordinated. Distance remains, yet relation holds. This is not merging. It is alignment. Alignment requires no movement, just allowance. Connection remains sufficient. Quiet, unforced, present. You notice awareness widening without effort, not expanding outward, softening inward. In science, awareness is often described as integration. Signals arrive. They are combined. A unified experience appears. No single signal dominates. The brain excels at synthesis. Millions of inputs converge into a single calm field of perception. Vision blends color, shape, and motion. Hearing merges frequency and rhythm. Touch integrates pressure and temperature. Awareness is not a spotlight. It is a field. Fields do not strain to include what enters them. They receive. Neuroscientists observe that during relaxed states, brain networks shift their balance. Activity moves away from narrow, task-focused circuits. Broader networks engage. The default mode network becomes more prominent. This network does not calculate or plan. It integrates. It supports a sense of continuity. Time feels less segmented. Experience feels more unified. You sense this now. Thoughts appear without urgency. They drift across awareness rather than pulling attention inward. This is not distraction. It is spaciousness. Spaciousness does not remove detail. It places detail inside context. In physics, context matters. A particle's behavior depends on the field it occupies. A wave's shape depends on boundary conditions. No phenomenon exists without environment. Awareness functions similarly. When context is wide, individual sensations lose sharp edges. Intensity softens. The nervous system responds. Stress hormones decrease. Parasympathetic activity increases. Heart rhythms slow and synchronize with breath. Physiological coherence grows. Scientists measure this as increased variability within healthy bounds. Variability here indicates adaptability. Rigid systems show low variability. Flexible systems show rhythmic fluctuation. Spacious awareness supports flexibility. In ecology, systems with wider niches tolerate change better. Species that exploit varied resources endure shifts. Diversity supports resilience. Monocultures fail under stress. The mind mirrors this principle. Narrow focus exhausts. Broad awareness restores. You are not concentrating now. You are allowing. Allowing distributes effort. Effort dissipates. In astronomy, wide-field surveys reveal structures missed by narrow views. Large-scale patterns emerge only when perspective widens. Filaments appear. Clusters connect. Meaning depends on scale of observation. The same is true internally. When awareness widens, patterns become visible. Thoughts relate to one another. Emotions blend into mood. Sensations form background. Nothing isolates. Isolation requires focus. Relaxation permits connection. Neural oscillations demonstrate this. During calm states, slower waves dominate. Theta and alpha rhythms synchronize across regions. Synchronization does not silence activity. It coordinates it. Coordination reduces conflict. The brain consumes less energy when synchronized. Efficiency increases. You feel this as ease. Ease does not imply dullness. It implies harmony. In physical systems, harmony appears as resonance. When frequencies align, energy transfers efficiently. Structures vibrate together rather than against one another. Sound becomes fuller, motion smooths. In the body, resonance appears as entrainment. Breathing entrains heart rhythm. Heart rhythm entrains neural timing. Systems fall into step. No command required. Awareness broadens naturally when effort releases. This broadening supports recovery. During sleep, especially deeper stages, awareness narrows further. External input reduces. Internal maintenance dominates. But before that narrowing, spaciousness appears, a gentle holding state. Scientists studying hypnagogia describe this transitional phase. Images drift, sounds echo softly, boundaries blur. This state is not confusion. It is reorganization. The brain shifts from external orientation to internal processing. Memory consolidates. Emotional tone stabilizes. Awareness remains present but less directive. You are close to this state, not approaching it, existing within it. Spaciousness allows trust. Trust allows release. Release supports restoration. In cosmology, expansion creates space for structure. As space expanded early in the universe, matter cooled. Cooling allowed particles to combine. Combination allowed atoms to form. Atoms enabled complexity. Space made structure possible. Spaciousness performs the same role here. By reducing pressure, it allows processes to proceed. You do not need to hold awareness tightly. It remains without effort. Sensations arrive and pass. Nothing needs to be filtered. Nothing needs to be pursued. Awareness includes everything and prefers nothing. This neutrality is calming. The nervous system relaxes when preference fades. Threat assessment quiets. Curiosity softens. The night supports this. Low light reduces sensory demand. Silence limits interruption. The environment cooperates. Awareness settles into width, wide enough to hold thought, gentle enough to allow rest. As this continues, the sense of self feels less edged, not diminished, integrated. Boundaries soften into relation, inside and outside coordinate. This coordination does not erase difference. It aligns it. Alignment feels like calm presence. No effort, no goal. Just awareness resting in its own spaciousness. Quiet remains sufficient. You are here, not arriving, not departing. Simply present within a quiet that does not ask questions. Rest does not need instruction. It is a state systems enter when conditions allow. In science, many processes conclude not with an ending, but with a settling. Motion slows, differences soften, gradients relax. Nothing switches off. Activity redistributes. The body understands this language well. Circulation continues at a steady pace. Respiration deepens without effort. Temperature regulation maintains gentle balance. These processes do not seek attention. They proceed because they can. In the nervous system, vigilance decreases when input reduces. Sensory signals quiet, motor plans loosen. Networks responsible for maintenance take precedence. Repair unfolds. Neuroscientists observe that during deep rest, the brain shifts energy away from prediction and toward restoration. Waste clears, connections recalibrate, rhythms synchronize. Nothing dramatic occurs. Efficiency increases. Efficiency supports peace. In physics, systems often settle into states requiring minimal energy to sustain. Particles occupy lower energy configurations. Fields smooth irregularities. Fluctuations diminish. Stability emerges. This stability does not imply rigidity. It allows gentle movement within bounds. Like a lake at night, surface still yet responsive. In astronomy, after periods of activity, objects cool and disperse energy. Gas clouds thin. Radiation spreads. Temperatures equalize. Space grows quiet, not empty, balanced. The universe does not rush towards silence. It relaxes into it. You are allowed to relax too. No summary is required. Understanding has already done its work by creating familiarity. Familiarity reduces demand. Demand dissolves. The body releases effort. Muscles soften fully. Jaw slackens. Eyes rest behind closed lids. Signals drop priority. Awareness remains without searching. This is not absence. It is presence without focus. In psychology, such states are associated with reduced cognitive load. Thought frequency decreases, emotional tone stabilizes. The mind no longer attempts to solve. It allows. Allowing is efficient. Energy consumption lowers. Repair dominates. Sleep emerges naturally from this condition. Not forced. Not pursued. In biology, sleep onset correlates with accumulation and release. Adenosine builds during wakefulness. Pressure for sleep increases gradually. When wakeful input subsides, release follows. The transition is chemical and electrical. No decision is involved. You do not fall asleep. Sleep arrives. The environment supports it. Darkness limits stimulation. Quiet reduces interruption. Temperature aligns with circadian preference. Systems coordinate. The night does not ask for participation. It offers conditions. You accept them by remaining still. In the universe, acceptance appears as equilibrium. Forces counterbalance, rates equalize. Change slows into continuity. Continuity feels like safety. Safety allows letting go. As letting go deepens distinctions, soften further. The sense of time loosens. Sequence dissolves. Only process remains. Process does not hurry. It continues at its own pace. Breath flows, heart beats, neural activity shifts gently. No narrative is needed. No endpoint is required. Science describes many phenomena as asymptotic, approaching a state without needing to reach it precisely. Closer, closer, never forced. Rest behaves this way. It deepens by approach rather than command. The body glides toward it when interference fades. You have already reduced interference. Nothing remains to do. In cosmology, the night sky appears calm because distances average intensity. Countless stars blend into darkness. Brightness smooths into hush. The same averaging occurs within awareness. Countless signals blend into quiet. Noise cancels itself. What remains is gentle continuity. The systems that sustain you continue without supervision. Chemical reactions proceed. Electrical patterns reorganize. Fields maintain balance. You are held within these operations. Not actively. Naturally, there is no need to mark this moment. Moments do not require labels to pass. Rest does not require permission. It is the condition that follows when effort releases. As this continues, awareness thins into comfort. Edges fade. No thought needs completion. No image needs clarity. The night carries what remains. Quiet persists. Nothing presses. Nothing pulls. Just the steady presence of systems doing what they are meant to do. You remain supported. Breathing, resting, allowed. Sleep does not need explanation. It arrives when readiness is complete. And readiness feels like this.